Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Today I thought I would go through all of my autumn and winter project plans. If you're new here, my name is Imi and I talk a lot about food and sustainability, but recently I've really been trying to learn a lot of skills and just get into new hobbies and try and do it as sustainably as possible. Just really try and be creative, and yeah, I just feel like it's a really great thing to try and continue learning for the rest of your life. I've also really got obsessed with watching people create things like crochet and knitting online, and I've become so obsessed that it's just become my favorite hobby to do, especially in the evenings when it's getting cooler and it's darker outside and just feels super cozy. A few of the projects I have worked on, I have made a cardigan. That was the first knitting project I ever made, and then I recently unraveled it and remade it because I thought it would be a really great way to learn something new and improve on the skills and see how far I'd come in a year, and also make something that was more wearable so I would actually wear it and it wouldn't go to waste just sitting in my cupboard. Of course, making something is not a waste. I have learnt a huge amount just from making that cardigan. But for me, I just can't bear the thought of something sitting in the cupboard, especially when it wasn't cheap to make and not getting worn. So I remade that. I also made another cardigan, which was a crochet cardigan. It's way too big. So one of my first projects for this autumn and winter season is to unravel a lot of my projects and remake them into either a better size or something else that I'm actually going to use and get way more use out of. I already did that with the first jumper that I ever made. I made a whole video about that whole process, and I made a short as well. And that was a really good learning curve. I got a lot of advice about unraveling. So once you unravel, it's actually best to wet or block the item and then let it dry so that it forgets the memory of the position that it was in once you had knit it into a structured piece like a jumper. So I'll definitely be doing that again. I did unravel a hat that was too small. So I have all of this yarn here, which is just a little bit of some of the stuff I have. I'm thinking of making this into a vest because I think vests are just the best layering piece. So that's one thing I'm going to be doing, is a whole section of just unraveling some garments or unraveling just a bit of one to make it fit better or to make new items. And that is going to be one whole section, which I'm already kind of halfway into. I also just want to get really good at knitting over this sort of winter period. I want to be as good as I possibly can in a short period of time. And I'm absolutely not in a rush. I just love it. I love the challenge. I love working through something and it not being quite right and then going back over and redoing it and then finally getting it, making a ton of mistakes and then just absolutely getting the perfect fit, the perfect neckline, the perfect length of your sleeve. It just really is the most satisfying thing when you can make something that looks beautiful and that fits you perfectly. Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, I think, when it comes to making your own clothes or knitting or crocheting, is being able to tailor these garments to fit you perfectly. And that's not something that you would get from a commercially bought item. Okay, so speaking of projects, I'm a big fan of Pinterest, and I spend quite a bit of time scrolling through Pinterest to look at the items or the projects that I am most excited about. And I have a lot. I have no idea who these patterns are by, so what I'm gonna do afterwards when I put this video up is I'll put timestamps and then I'll put all the patterns and all the information in the description box below so that you can, anything that you think, oh wow, that looks really cool, you can just go to the description and then you can see exactly what it is. Okay, so the first thing is I really want to make some Colourwork mittens. I've seen these really beautiful patterns everywhere of blue and white. Blue and white seems to be very trendy on social media at the moment, and I am just a huge fan of what it looks like. There's a jumper actually that it's like white and has blue fish on it, and I just think it looks really cool. But definitely some mittens, and I found some Songbird mittens that I think look particularly cool. I just love that look of a really chunky, like lovely warm jumper and then have mittens on the end as well. I think that this would be a really great project for learning to get better at colour work using smaller needles and creating structure and shape around that kind of mitten. I think that that would probably be a very interesting challenge and definitely a place that I could learn something like that. So that's definitely the first thing that I am thinking of. I guess similarly, I also want to make a little cozy for my bottle. I think it's really important to have fun projects as well as the challenging ones and the items that you're going to wear. This one is just purely for the cute value. I think it will help me with shaping again. I think it will help me with color work. And I just think that it's gonna look so cute. I just think it has such a lovely vibe to it. And when I see it, even when I just see the photo of it, I feel happy seeing it. So I feel like if I'm able to make it and it looks beautiful, I'm gonna be very happy about that, very happy. I'm really inspired by the kind of Norwegian, Finnish knitters that I see out there and all their patterns. I just think they're so beautiful. And I feel like there is so much you can learn from doing a pattern like that. I am still very much a beginner. I've only been knitting for maybe just over a year and a few months. And I love to push myself. I love to challenge myself, but I still only have learned how to knit and purl. I don't know how to do any other stitches. I've only recently learned German short rows, and I've only done one proper colourwork project and then one kind of mini vest colourwork project. I'm currently working on my next colourwork project, but it's the same as my first one, just in a different colorway for my husband. But there is still so much I don't know. And I'm in that really wonderful period where I'm just so excited to learn, and I'm just so excited to try new things and to challenge myself. And so I think the biggest project that I want to undertake in this season is to actually knit a porcelain sweater. I have seen this all over Instagram, all over TikTok, all over social media, and I've watched so many videos while I've been knitting of just people knitting the porcelain jumper. And I feel like this can be a really helpful tool when you're learning a new skill or you're trying to learn something like knitting, because it's just a really great way to see how other people are doing it and anticipate what the pattern is going to call for. I have made the mistake of not reading a pattern the whole way through before starting one before, and I will never make that mistake again. I now do a swatch. If you're a beginner, you don't tend to do them because you don't really fully grasp why they're important. Now I do them, and I think that they are exceptionally important, and I will never not do one ever again. So reading a pattern all the way through, taking all the steps and making sure you're doing everything right just means that you're not going to get to the end and your sleeves will be too short or they're too long or something that you can't fix. I'm also really looking forward to doing a jumper from top down. I've only done one in pieces and then sewn it together, and then the latest one I did it bottom up. And while that is really fun, I just think that being able to do it top down it gives you a lot more control. It can make sure that things are done exactly how they should be, and you can try them on using cords so that you can check that everything is actually fitting and the shape is really nice and fitted to you as you're going along. So the porcelain sweater is one that I am so excited to try. I have no idea what yarn I'm going to use. It'll probably be a cotton yarn that I can find, but I'm going to do a lot of research and check to see what other people are suggesting before I get started. This is going to be a really good one for me because it's got small needles, it will be colour work, there'll be some knit and purl colour work, there might be some other stuff going on. And then also I'm very interested in, a lot of people do a collar that's a knit down collar, which I've never done before, so that will be another thing that I'm very interested in trying. Okay, I've already bought the pattern for this, so I'm very excited to do this. I'm going to make an interactive baby book for my friend, and you basically crochet the whole thing. So this is a crochet project that I'm going to be doing, and it's kind of ocean themed. So we've got penguins and whales and walruses and all that kind of stuff in there. And it's going to be nice and squishy, so he's going to be able to touch everything and move everything. And it's just going to be a very fun, and I think just a little bit of a different present that you can give someone who's had a child. It just looks super cute. Unfortunately, my nephews are a bit too old for it, but he is definitely the youngest kid I know that will definitely be able to play with that. I decided to order a kit for that because there were so many like little bits and I just wasn't really sure. So that is actually being sent to London, where I'm heading in a couple of days. So I'm very excited to get started with that. That will probably be my first crochet project in quite a while. Okay, another crochet project that I'm really interested in exploring is a flower puff something. I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet, but I've been seeing them everywhere as well. And I think that They just look so cute, and I think that maybe making a pillowcase in this style could look really cool, or just something. I just think it looks so cute, and I'm really interested in just giving that a little go. I might make just 1 or 2 or 3 first to see what it looks like, and then continue making something with it. But yeah, I really love those, and I just think they look so cute. Okay, the next one is the Ingrid pattern. I've been seeing this quite a lot, and I think that it looks really cool, but I also think, again, that it's gonna really challenge me. However many projects that I do choose, I only like to work on one thing at a time. So I will probably start one thing, and then if I get fatigued from making so many jumpers, then I might make a vest next, or I might make a crochet project next. I probably won't do a jumper back to back, because I find doing the arms the most laborious part, because you've done the whole body and then you're just ready to move on, I tell ya. But then you have to do the arms, so then you're feeling like But at the same time, jumpers are really good for just getting a lot of time on your needles and a lot of time using your hands to just get that motion really like perfected. You can become a much quicker knitter from just practicing here and there and just keeping going with a project for a long time. I am an English knitter, so I throw the yarn from the right. A lot of people have been telling me to, try continental knitting, but I don't like it. I don't like the way it feels. I don't like the strain on my fingers. I prefer to be an English knitter. And so I just want to let you know, if any of you feel the pressure to go from the left, but you might prefer the right, then don't, because this is supposed to be a hobby that we all enjoy. We're supposed to be having a nice time. So I feel like you should just relax, take what other people say with a pinch of salt. If you want to give it a go, give it a go. I gave it a go, but it really ruined my tension. It made everything really loose and I didn't like it. And I feel like I have a very nice level of consistent tension when I go from the right, and also I just enjoy it more, and that is what's important. I also have some fingering weighted yarn that I was making a pair of socks with, and then I unraveled that. There's actually a hat pattern that I came across on TikTok that I'm very interested in trying, and I think that this yarn would be perfect for it. I hate having a big stash of yarn because it makes me feel like I should be doing something, or it kind of makes me feel like it's being wasted. So that is definitely going to go straight towards the hat, and I've been thinking about what to do with it for a while because I already have the right size needles and I have that yarn. So yes, I'm going to make that hat, and this is kind of done in a tube, and then you push it in so it becomes half, and then you can wear it, and I think that that would be super comfortable and also very warm. I live in Denver, Colorado, so the evenings and the winters are just freezing, like absolutely freezing. So I definitely want to have a warm hat for the winter. No doubt I will probably come up with some other plans, but those are kind of the knitting and the crochet plans I have for now. They're still very loose. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself if, I don't get round to doing one. I just wanted a few fun projects. I will probably end up making a baby jumper for one of my friends or a baby cardigan, because those are quite quick because they're so small, and that's a really good way to practice certain skills without having to commit to like a huge project. And also kids clothes are so cute. There are so many really great patterns out there that I'm really excited to try. But the first one is definitely going to be the interactive baby book that I am going to get started with when I get to London. In terms of DIY, I'm over my kitchen table. We bought this on Facebook Marketplace for $75 when we first moved into this house 2 years ago now, and it is orange. And you know what? I gave it its time, but it's time to sand it. So I think over the winter period, I'm definitely going to sand the table and the chairs just to make it a nicer color and stain it so it feels, I don't know, a bit less orange and a bit more natural. That's probably my biggest DIY project that I'm thinking of. I would like to build a bigger greenhouse, but we will see if we get round to that. That might be more of a spring project rather than a winter one. We definitely got some sanding to do. Now, when it comes to sewing I'm finding is the biggest learning curve for me. I found that picking up knitting and crochet was actually quite straightforward. Crochet a little bit harder because I started knitting first, and it's just a different thing. So when you have to get used to something else, you naturally are inclined to think of it as knitting, but then you realize it's not knitting. And then crochet I'm still having a bit of a interesting time with. I just don't enjoy it as much as knitting. I prefer what knitting looks like as a final product to crochet, but there are definitely a lot of crochet projects out there that look really, really exciting. Sewing is definitely something I'm finding the learning curve is much harder. There are a lot more things to think about, and I want to really get it down, but sewing might be more of a spring project, so I can get into making, you know, lighter dresses and stuff that requires less fabric. You never know. I might start small, start with some other, like some scrunchies or maybe a top or something. The neckline is something I find very challenging when it comes to making garments from sewing. But then again, I haven't given it enough time. So I've really been obsessed with knitting, and I've given that a lot of my time. I've given it a lot of my evenings. And the same with crochet. I just feel like with all new things that you're gonna learn, it's always gonna be hard at first. When I made my first cardigan when I was knitting, it was the most frustrating thing ever. Like, you would never have imagined that I would be able to finish that project, let alone a year later do a colourwork project. It was very challenging. And the same with crochet. Like, I find it excessively frustrating when I'm first trying something out. I don't get it. I don't understand why things are the way they are. A lot of tutorials on YouTube, which is what I mainly use, are not the best filmed, so that when you're trying to see exactly what's happening, it's blurry and something else is in focus, and that's quite hard. But through that, I have learned how to do things simply by doing them wrong first and having to undo them multiple times. There are a lot of really great resources on YouTube, and I follow a lot of tutorials, or I'll read a pattern that's been written down, and if there's something I don't fully understand, even if it's been written out, I'll just go to YouTube, like how to make a M1R, like a right-leaning increase. No idea how to do that. So I just went on YouTube, saw exactly how to do it, and then followed the pattern. That's the wonderful thing about social media. There is just so much good information out there, and there are so many wonderful creators and pattern makers. Especially if you are a beginner, a lot of them will understand that and write a pattern specifically to help you. The pattern I used for my first colourwork jumper, I used the Alpine Sweater pattern, and that was designed for beginners. So the colour chart was very simple to use, the instructions were very simple, but again, if I didn't understand anything, I would go to YouTube and just look it up. To be honest, when it comes to my autumn and winter plans, it just depends on how long things take me. I'm not going to rush anything. I'm going to take my time, but also if I'm loving something and I have the time to do it, I will spend a lot of time doing that. So those are very much my tentative autumn and winter plans. I will definitely add more things in, and if you're interested, I would love to do just some like dedicated videos to making like the porcelain sweater or making this or making that. So if there's anything that you're particularly interested in January, I'm actually going to do a roundup video of what it's been like to try to learn to knit, maybe even crochet as well. I give myself a lot more time to knit than I do crochet just because I prefer it. But yeah, I would love to know what your knitting plans are for autumn or winter. I've been watching a lot of these videos recently, and I just love to put them on whilst I knit. So it's been really nice to have that kind of company. If you have any experience with making any of these patterns or similar things, please let me know. And if you have any advice, please let me know in the comments below. Because again, I'm a beginner and I just want to get as good as I possibly can at making really well-made garments that fit me really well and that I absolutely love. My biggest advice when you're learning to knit something or make something is choose a pattern of something you actually want to wear or you actually want to use. There's no point in making something that you don't really want to make anyway, because if you really want to make it to wear it and you really love the design and the pattern, then you're going to spend so much more time trying to get it right than kind of giving up and getting frustrated. That's what I found. Anyway, so let me know any of the questions you have in the comments below, or any advice you have, or I would just love to know your plans as well for knitting or this autumn and winter. And I'm really excited to share the kind of journey that I'm about to go on. Yes, anyway, I will see you next time, and I can't wait to share just another project with you. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos of my actual knitting projects, and I will see you very, very soon. Okay, bye.